Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis, and you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture. And yes, I am hard to kill, but enough about that as I have with me cosplayer Kiki Rose. So, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have you on. Obviously, I've been following you on Instagram for a while, and I've been wanting to do this for a good, I think, like year and a half to 2 years. And we're
Yes.
talking about a lot of your cosplays and some other stuff. But before we get into that, why don't you introduce who you are? Because some people might know who you are, some people might not know who you are, and some people might be like, "Who's this cosplayer?" That we're going to show a bunch of cool pictures of in a few minutes.
Woo. Well, I am Kiki Rose. I've been cosplaying since like 2011. My first ever convention was Middle Tennessee Anime Convention, and I literally fell in love with cosplay due to my love for Halloween and all things spooky and pop culture and anime. And it just I fell in love with it because I got to be creative, not just for one day out of the year, but for any time during the whole entire year, and basically made a career out of it. And it's just been so much fun to constantly explore it all the time. And it basically became an addiction.
Yeah, so I want to talk about this a little bit because obviously, there are people who make a career out of cosplay. There's people who just do it for fun. And I think both those things are fascinating because obviously, if you can make money doing what you love, that's awesome, and that's what everybody should try to do. But what is that like? Because I feel, and I don't know how you feel, but just on a creativity is that I feel like all of a sudden when money comes into things, sometimes it can challenge and make creativity complicated. So how do you balance that? Because I think I think it's a struggle for me. I don't know if it's a struggle for you in figuring out, cool, I want to do this cosplay, but also I want to monetize it.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster for me. There are times where I want to completely quit making it a career because I want to go back to it being just fun and carefree. Um, Basically back to like the beginning of when I started cosplaying. And then there's the other part of me that's like, oh, but I can make so much money from this. So let me just keep going. But it's just constantly an up and down in my brain. I don't know about anyone else, but in my brain, it's constantly up and down. But I just love being able to be creative no matter what. And yes, it's a money pit for me because I do like a pay as you go type system. So any money that I get either goes into my medical bills or it goes literally right back into the cosplays for me to constantly get more content out there to be seen, to make more. And it's just, again, a constant money pit.
Yeah, let's talk about that because I think that's fascinating, right? So obviously, when you're running a business, because once you are getting paid for cosplay, whether that's through Patreon, doing prints, doing conventions, it's figuring out how much money you want to pump into the business side, I guess, to accelerate it, right? But also
Yes.
for everything else, how much you want to take out, when do you take out money? Because that's like the real trick. Because obviously, I run an eBay business, buying and selling collectibles, and there is a position where I do take out profits at a certain point, but I take out a healthy distribution. And so, because that's where I think this gets really, really complicated in that regard, is figuring out, cool, I want to go build this new cosplay that's really popular, but in case anybody didn't know, wigs are expensive, fabrics are
Yes.
expensive. I don't know what else is expensive in cosplay, but apparently everything is. I mean,
Makeup, shoes, all of it, literally,
so like, how
every
do you
single
balance
aspect
all
of
that?
it.
Like, how do you balance all that? Because I think that's like complicated. For forgetting even if you're making money. I mean, I think anybody in cosplay, like, it's a real balancing act. I'm not a cosplayer, but that's just from my experience interviewing people and seeing and talking to people, is that it gets expensive quick.
Yes, it does. Most of my cosplays cost an upward of $200 per. And that's just even the normal baseline. And it just it keeps going up in price. Even the smaller cosplays are starting to get up there in the $100 range, just doing like closet style cosplays. It's gotten way too much to the point where I'm starting to have to back off of making new cosplays and just revisiting a whole bunch of ones that I still have in my closet, because I just can't keep dishing out new ones and keeping up with it, all of the demand for new and all of the new content that's always coming out. I can't do it because it's just gotten too much. So trying to balance it all is not actually sustainable. Not in this day and age anymore. It's not. Or at least for me, it's not. It's because I have a whole bunch of things on the side that I also have to sustain. So,
So you bring up a really interesting point, and I'm curious because I have made an argument that, media in general is coming to a slow death, where it's the Big Bang Theory, where there was a big explosion at the center of the universe, and then it's slowly pushing out everything. And there's going to eventually get to a point where everything just dead stops or moves at such a slow energy. And I feel pop culture collectively has gone through that between media,
yes,
between anime, comics, Star Wars. It's its own category, everybody. It's its own category at this point. And everything else. Wrestling is big right now. And so like I don't know how people manage this because even and I'm not a cosplayer, but I can't keep up with everything that's coming out and I have to pick and choose. And so like
yes.
but then when you really add money, and then I feel like people want, Demon Slayer, then they want My Hero Academia, then they want the new Marvel movie, then they want the new DC stuff, and then they want, something else. It's like there's only so much that can happen. And so like I don't know how that is even dealt with on a consumer level. And when we look at, people in the upper echelon of cosplay, I don't know how they do it either, because it just seems like every 5 minutes you have to have a new cosplay and you have to have like 7 a week.
It feels like that a lot of the time, but I got to the point where people were demanding cosplays of me that I would just be like, okay, you want that cosplay of me? Then you buy it for me. I will cosplay it for you. I am not going to constantly shell out my own money that I can barely live off of right now for me to constantly dish out new cosplays every single time something new comes up, because I cannot keep up with the demand. So if you want this, you can get it for me. I will happily cosplay it for you, but I'm not doing it all on my own. I just cannot keep up with that demand.
No, no,
So that's my own personal way of dealing with it, is adding things to my wish list and letting people sponsor those things if that's what they want to see. But I can't constantly be buying new cosplays unless it is personally something that I actually want to do.
no, no. I agree in which that, obviously, I mean, my take is that you got to love this industry and you have to love cosplay, and it has to be a priority. It has to be a lifestyle to some degree. And,
It really does.
and this is why I'm not a cosplayer, because I don't love it that way. There are things that I love. There are things that I love that I will die for, undeniably. I love interviewing. I love podcasts. I love investing. I am not willing to die for cosplay. Is where I'm at. But you have to make those sacrifices. I mean, it's the kind of thing where if you want to be at a convention cosplaying, you might have to have 5 people in your hotel room if you really love it that much, or you might have to not go on vacation. Um, or it might be that, well, if you want to see me cosplay a character, well, you know, you gotta chip in to help make it happen. So there you go. But I do want to talk about a bunch of your cosplays though, because I like a bunch of them. And the one I want to talk about first is something that a lot of people like too. And I enjoy all of your Sailor Moon stuff. So, what's the story behind Sailor Moon? Because this is classic anime 101,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. I mean, there's this one. There's this one in there. There's this one. There's this one. This is not Sailor Moon, but it's Sailor Mars. It's okay. Kind of counts. Yeah, there's this
Sailor
one.
Neptune's on the way.
Yeah.
I
There's
also
a
have Dark
bunch.
Lady.
So like what's the story of that? Because in my opinion, there are classic cosplays like a Sailor Moon, or if you're doing, I can't think of one off the top of my head. That's like another. But like, what's the story behind Sailor Moon? Because everybody loves Sailor Moon. Everybody knows Sailor Moon.
Well, Sailor Moon was technically my first anime whenever it was on like 4Kids. So my sister and I would literally watch it on cartoons, like on the channel every Saturday morning. And she was obsessed with it so much that she would have the toys. Then she watched the live action. And that would actually be kind of our thing that we actually bonded over, which is something very rare for me and my sister to do, is actually bond over something because we butt heads like a lot, like really badly. But Sailor Moon was like the only thing that we really actually agreed on and bonded over and still agree on to this day. And I don't know, it's just something I hold really dear to my heart. So I'm always happy to cosplay Sailor Moon and Sailor Moon characters in general. My favorite was always Sailor Neptune, but that was mainly because she played the violin and I played the violin uh, back in middle school. And it was just one of my favorite things to do. And I always loved Usagi. I loved everything about her and her bond with her friends and having that friendship, camaraderie, and the love that she has for anyone and everyone that comes into her circle. So that's basically the reason why I cosplay so many of the Sailor Moon characters at this point.
So to even go further into that though, because I think it's interesting, right? Is that obviously you have classic Sailor Moon, and then you
Yes, I
have
do.
her. Obviously this is the classic version of Sailor Moon, and then
Yes, it is.
you do something more along the lines of this, which is
The
kind of
90s version.
90s version. We could call it. Yeah. There we go. That. Yes, and then you have something more like this too,
The
which
Gothic
is
version.
the Gothic version, and then you
Yeah, it
have
was based off of fan art.
yeah, and then you have the
Neo
princess.
Queen Serenity.
Yes.
That's Neo Queen Serenity.
And then I don't know what version is this, but
It's like a lingerie Queen Serenity or Neo Queen, future-ish Neo Queen Serenity, Princess Serenity version. The lingerie is actually a custom lingerie that I got from Perfect Pineapples. Um, and I just thought it was so pretty that I was like, I'm gonna do a full set in this because it's so pretty and it has Sailor Moon stuff on it. So
so what is that like? Because I love variations of cosplay, right? Because I'll be honest, at this point in the game, traditional Sailor Moon's great, right? But
yeah.
it gets old. It gets old real quick, right? I've seen it so many times. I've been to like 90 anime cons in the last 15 years, and I've seen enough of just regular Sailor Moon that I like to see when people do mashups or do a variation or mix it up a little bit or do something a little
Oh
bit
yeah, it gets
funky.
fun.
So what is that like? Because you're taking a character everybody knows, and it's also recognizable. Where you see this and you know it's Sailor Moon, right? Versus there are other characters where if you mash it up and you make it gothic, they might not know it's that character, but everybody knows it. But it also separates you because I feel at this stage in the game, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, that you need to have some spin on something on the internet to get attention with your cosplays.
Yeah, a lot of the time. I mean, it adds some extra creativity, that's for sure, which is more fun because, you get to express a different side of you and a different side of that character that normally most people wouldn't even think of. And a lot of the time, it's also just based off of fan arts that you see because other people think of these ideas and then you're like, huh, I wouldn't have thought of that. I want to actually cosplay that. Let me try. So that's where a lot of the ideas actually come from, is mainly from other fan arts that end up happening with their mashups and stuff, and people are just recreating those mashups. So it's actually a lot of fun to find those ideas. Or sometimes you can like just be spitballing ideas with your friends, and then you guys come up with like the silliest idea, and then you're just like, yes, I want to do that. Let's cosplay it. Like I came up with a diva and a Mountain Dew can, and that was one of my most fun cosplays because I literally got to dress up in a can.
There's your Tifa. There's the Mountain Dew in the back. And so since you brought it up, right? And obviously, I like this. We got that right there too, in Diva. And so, what is that like too? Because I love playing Overwatch, and I used to play a lot of Overwatch. Back in the day, I used to get hammered playing Overwatch. It was great. 25 DC Friday nights. Oh my god, till like 4 in the morning. It was amazing. But like, since you brought it up, I mean, what is that like? Because obviously everybody knows Diva, and messing around with the Mountain Dew stuff, and obviously her whole soda thing that she's got going on, and yeah,
Yeah.
so like, what is that like? Because again, it's fun, right? Isn't that the point of cosplay? It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah, it's meant to be fun. And originally I wanted to do Widowmaker. Um, but I had such a funny idea about bathing in Mountain Dew that I decided to do Diva instead and put Widowmaker on the back burner. So that's basically how I started cosplaying Diva, and then everyone just loved it so much that I just kept cosplaying her. So I haven't been able to get away from her since.
Yeah, no,
I
yeah,
literally I literally had a full bathtub of nothing but Mountain Dew, and let me tell you, you do not want to bathe in carbonated Mountain Dew. It actually burns your skin. I learned that the hard way. It is not fun, and it is very sticky. Very sticky. But I also got to shoot my photographer with Nerf balls, so that was fun. I was happy about that.
That's interesting. So obviously you are shooting photos, and so what is that like too? Because obviously, I mean, if you have a whole bathtub of Mountain Dew, you're shooting for your photographer with it, and like, how do you even figure out that? Because that's also the other side of cosplay that I don't think gets spoken about. Is we have the actual physical side of cosplay where you're at a convention, you're doing something, you're walking around, all that stuff, but then you also have the photo stuff, and that's a
Yes.
whole different aspect, because what you can do
Yes.
in photos and shooting either for Patreon, Instagram, I don't know what else you would shoot for per se, or where anywhere it's going to be distributed. Obviously, there's more of an artistic side to it, for lack of a better word.
Yes, there is. Well, basically, one, you have to find photographers that are willing to work with you and that you feel safe with, and two, ones that you like the style of. For me, I actually work with three different photographers, and they let me just do whatever the heck I want, and then I edit the photos myself because I have a specific style that I like editing my photos in. And they're super fun to work with, and I enjoy working with them because I get to do the craziest crap with them. Literally, I shoot them with Nerf balls. I throw toilet paper at them. I literally will just like have blood dripping on their camera lenses and stuff like that. It's crazy. Well, I'll come up with an idea and I'll be like, "Can we do this?" And they'll be like, "Okay."
Yeah. So no, because it is tricky. So obviously, I've spoken to Chief Geek Photography, and he does a lot of shooting, and I've spoken to a few others, and I mean, it's, again, I'm not in that space. I don't want to be in that space. It's
It
fascinating.
It gets tricky because also you have the expense of keeping up with the cameras and the maintenance and also upgrading things and the lighting and all that aspect, especially if you're trying to do things outdoors. Outdoor lighting is the worst than studio lighting because at least with studio lighting you have consistent even lighting, but if you're trying to do outdoor lighting you have to have separate equipment for that and it's a pain in the tuchus. And I just it's fun, but it can be very rigorous and you also have to be patient and I'm not a super patient person. I get bored very, very fast. And I also get annoyed in cosplay a lot quicker than I used to. So it starts weighing on you after a while, and you're like, the
You
wig is starting to hurt, and your body's
brought up
starting
a
to
really
hurt, and you're like, okay, I am done.
so
Sensory overload.
you actually just brought up a really, really good point is that obviously if you're shooting indoors, it's a very different atmosphere. And also if you're
Yes.
shooting in a professional, quote unquote professional studio, and hopefully that's the right word or he has an idea what that means in their head, versus if you're hiking up a mountain and it's 20 degrees below,
Hmm.
it's a very different experience. And
Which I have done.
so I think that that's something that people don't understand is that when somebody's shooting in a desert, it's different than when they're shooting in a professional studio or they're doing something of that nature. And I think that it is tricky to do that because it's not just lighting, but it's also you got to get up there in your cosplay, or somehow you got to get up there and then put on your cosplay, and even just figuring out that whole setup can be a nightmare. From what I understand, heard, spoke to. It's again, this is why I don't do it because it seems like
Hmm.
it's really difficult, and
It
I,
is, and
I,
it's
I don't
rigorous.
think I don't think people understand how much effort goes into a outdoor photo shoot or even an indoor photo shoot for that matter. I mean, if you're shooting on a rooftop looking over a city, there's still a lot of work that goes into that.
Yes, you still have to have a whole bunch of lighting and you have to make sure the shutter speed is correct and all these other little technical aspects. It gets very technical. And you gotta hope that you know what you're doing and that they turn out perfectly fine. And you gotta do the stop and go, stop and click, and make sure everything looks good, and make sure your wig is fine, make sure your eyelashes are still glued on, make sure everything in your costume is still perfectly where it's supposed to sit. So much goes into it. And yet we still get so many hate comments.
Yeah, well. That's what the internet was invented for. Just ask Abraham Lincoln. He told it to me yesterday.
Yeah, true. That's so true.
I'm so sad. But I do want to talk about another one because I have favorite characters, right, in anime and stuff, and this is one of my favorite characters of all time. Is Dark Magician Girl, and I love Dark Magician Girl. I love everything related to Dark Magician Girl. Anytime Dark Magician Girl or on homage to Dark Magician Girls on a comic, I love it. And then this is another one you did of hers as
Hmm.
well. And so, what's the story behind that? Because obviously, this is a very sexy dark magician girl. I think. Let me.
Do you really want to know the story?
Let me just finish the point here. Dark magician girl is very sexy in general, but this takes it to a new level.
Hmm.
Yeah, you
I
could
also
lie
did
to.
a cosplay deviant set of her, so see, it's even worse.
So how did that come about? Because that everybody knows who Dark Magician Girl is. Everybody loves Dark Magician Girl. So many things I could say.
Yeah. Well, it was technically a revenge cosplay to my ex-husband because he's obsessed with Yu-Gi-Oh. Yeah. It was basically like a F you. I'm going to make her look hot and you can't have me.
uh,
Also
but,
doesn't
but
help that a fan also sponsored it, so I was like, "Hey, thanks."
So obviously you're speaking about that too. So what is that like when a fan sponsors a cosplay for you? Because obviously it helps with cost, and then I don't know exactly how that all works per se, because everybody probably does it a little bit differently. But obviously, when a fan says, "Hey, I want to see this cosplay," and
Mhm.
because I've seen it on a bunch of stuff, right? Like I've seen it on many vids. I've seen stuff like that on Patreon. I've seen stuff like that probably on OnlyFans. It exists. And so, what
Yeah.
is that like? Because obviously, somebody wants to see that cosplay, and then they're sponsoring it, and then you get to do it. But obviously, so yeah.
Well, whenever people want to sponsor a cosplay with me personally, either they ask for me to put it on my wish list for them to buy on my wish list, or I give them the option to buy a custom photo set that is a little bit more expensive than my normal price custom photo sets. That way it includes the price of said cosplay because I don't already have said cosplay for that custom photo set. So that way they get the photo set plus the cosplay and they get to, you know, enjoy that aspect of it as well. So it really just depends on what the fan prefers. If they just want to see me in just the cosplay, then the wish list is like the best way to go, which a lot of fans just want to see me in just the cosplay in general. So they're just like, wish list, you know? But there are those certain fans that are like, yes, custom photo set for me. So they'll pay that extra premium price and I'll get the extra money plus the cosplay. So,
No, I find it interesting. I find it interesting. Again, I get custom, in which that I like the idea, and I've said this before about media in general. Media is future is going to be based on cost of how much it costs. So it's obviously how much do I want to pay for it? When can I watch it? What can I watch? And how customizable is it? And that's the future of everything with media right now. And so,
yeah.
and it's on demand also in big libraries. And so, obviously, people want to be the director, for lack of a better word. Um,
Yeah, that they do.
and it's not like a power grab. It's the idea that hey, if I like something, I want to do it. You know, and I want it my way, right? So,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
I would love to book a match, right? On WWE. I would love to book a match, and I would drop 50K to do it in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. I don't have 50K, so everybody, before you ask, but it's an example. But I would pay 40. But all jokes aside, in a heartbeat, I would love to book a match and have it like air on television because it'd be awesome. But people want to be the director, so again, I find that space fascinating. But I do want to talk about another one of yours. That's another great anime, and Rise of the Shield Hero.
Hmm.
And we got Rafaela, and I mean this one is great for a lot of reasons. So this is a tamer version, and this is a little bit more risque. I think might be a nice way how to say it. Um,
Hmm.
and so what is this like? Because that show is amazing on so many levels.
I am sad that I no longer fit the full outfit anymore. Um, I still fit the lingerie, surprisingly, but no longer fit her full outfit anymore, and I'm so sad about that because I wanted to do another photo shoot of it. But I actually got those ears and that tail custom by a seller on Etsy. So that actually was really nice because I wanted them to look as close to the anime as possible and I wanted to look adorable. And she's definitely one of my favorite cosplays to do because I feel adorable, which is so nice. She's one of my favorites.
There's so many things I could say. So many things I could say to that. Um, Oh my god! I mean, I love Rise of the Shield Hero much like I love Yu-Gi-Oh, much like I love that. And what was the reaction to it? Because that was one of those shows, in my opinion, that kind of came out of nowhere and then blew everybody away for a lot of reasons. a lot of reasons. You have, obviously the characters are well defined. You also have a character who kind of is portrayed and presented as a scumbag, but really got set up, and then he's got to forge his
Yeah.
way through. And there's a lot of cool stuff. It's beautifully animated. The first season was great. The second
Yes, it
season
was.
was okay. The third season was better than the second season, and then they're doing the fourth, I think, right now, and they're making it. So, but like, it's just an amazing concept. And what was that like? This, and what was the reaction to it? Because it's one of those shows that's just, I feel like it's a new generation and ushering in kind of a new generation of anime to some degree.
When I first posted her on Reddit, she was very, very well received on certain parts of Reddit. Because Reddit. um, on TikTok, she was very, very well received. Everyone loved her, especially the tail swishing. Everyone was obsessed with the tail swishing. I don't know why, but that just made my video go even more, I guess, not really viral, but like it just gained more traction with the tail swishing. But she was very well loved on at least those two platforms. On the other social media platforms, she was just kind of mid range. She didn't get as much love as I thought she was going to get on Twitter and Instagram, like I thought she was going to initially. But maybe I just didn't market her the right way. I don't know, but at least on Reddit and TikTok, she was doing very, very well for a little bit there.
So this is interesting too, because again, I have YouTube videos that take off, and I don't know why they take off and do well. And then I have things that on TikTok that have taken off and done well. But then I also have things that I thought were going to do great and they don't. And then I try to
Yep.
figure out why it is what it is. Obviously, I don't know much about Reddit. I know way more about TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. In many ways, is a social media platform. And so, like, what is that like? Because obviously, you're making cosplays and being able to market them is part of your business, and gaining exposure and then making money off of it and monetizing it. And so, like, what is that like? Because obviously, I mean, it's a real skill in which that I don't think anymore, if you want to make money in cosplay, that you can't just be good at cosplay. You have to be good at marketing, putting good
Yep.
at social media, good at a bunch of stuff. I mean, I could go through the list, but we would be here till like 9 in the morning. But what is that like? Because you must have some sense of that and figuring
Is
out
a
what's
pain in
going
the
to.
butt.
It
Pain in
is.
the
It is. I,
butt.
I don't disagree. It sucks. Like, I hate social media because it's
Me too.
impossible to figure out. It's impossible. I love social media because it allows me to connect to hundreds of millions of people. Like, I will never run out of people to interview because of social media, right?
Yep.
Ever. But I can't figure out what makes it work and what makes it doesn't work. And then I'm just like, fine, I'm just going to throw everything at it and we'll see what happens. And then as soon as I think I figured it out, it goes the other way. It's
And it
horrific.
also changes too.
Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad.
Trust me, I know the frustration. I mean, I'm literally in business marketing and management, getting my bachelor's right now, and I still can't figure it out because there's so many things on my social medias that will randomly take off months later, and I'm like, what the heck are you doing? And then other things that I think are going to take off because they're like trending, it gets nothing. Absolutely nothing.
It's the weirdest thing, right? Because this is what happens to me on YouTube, right? So I will have a video have like 5 views, and then like a year later, the thing then has 7,000 views, and I'm like, when the fuck did this happen?
Yeah,
And,
it's like where did it go?
but what happens is that it gets buried under so much shit that I only pay attention to the last 30 videos on YouTube of my content, because I will pay attention to the last 28 days and the last 30 to 50 videos. I cannot pay attention to anything else because when you have 1,800 videos on YouTube, like I can't monitor every single video, right? It's the same thing with every single post, right? So I try to say, cool, great. We'll use a sports example. The New York Mets were in the playoffs last year and they were playing the Dodgers. So I had a bunch of New York Mets posts because it made sense, right? And that obviously that caught part of the algorithm. And so there was maybe a little bit of a boost into some stuff. But all of a sudden, like I can't figure it out, and I don't even know how to figure it out. And I don't make my money from this. So I can't even imagine how annoying and how stressful it could be. You're making money, and then social media is a freaking nightmare.
Yep, ever changing, constant nightmare. It it frustrates me to my core. In all honesty, I never wanted to be on social media. Like until I think it was like 2017, 2018. I wasn't even on social media. Like I didn't post anything. I had no social media presence. I just didn't do anything because I did not want to be on it. The most you saw from me was things that I was tagged in on Facebook from friends. That was it. I did not want to be on social media. I never wanted a career on social media. And things just kind of happened to where I was like kind of forced to do it. So I was like, okay. And now I'm here. And now I'm constantly dealing with the ever changing nightmare that is social media. And it's always so constant and so annoying. And I'm still trying to figure it out and still trying to find new ways to monetize and find new ways to get myself out there. And it's ever so frustrating and ever so just, I can never find my footing a lot of the time. It always feels like I'm spinning my wheels in the same place.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling. I mean, I don't know if you played with YouTube Community, but like for a while, I was playing with YouTube Community, and then I started posting a lot of stuff there, and then a bunch of traction hit, and it was great. And I gained like 150 subscribers out of that, and they all stayed, and I was putting out more video content, and then I kept it up for a while, and then it just stopped, right? And then I'm still gaining subscribers, but at a much slower rate. But I went in like 3 months from like 400 to like 750 subscribers, which is awesome. But like it's so tricky because I was getting ahead. I'm like, oh man, let's throw more, fuel into the fire. And then there you go. And it's I'm not making a lot of money from doing this, but I enjoy interviewing, and it keeps my I guess pulse on pop culture a little bit. It gives me insight into where markets are moving in this space because I run an eBay business outside of this. But like I know the feeling of just the wheels just spinning. It's incredibly complicated, and I wish I didn't have social media, and I wish I didn't have to be part of it. To be honest,
Same, honestly. But
I,
I am, and now I'm creating a YouTube and trying another form of OnlyFans media, and I'm trying other things, and so I'm going to be even more incorporated and a part
well,
of it. So
I do want to talk
I'm going
about
to be stuck.
I do want to talk about OnlyFans in a second, but I do want to talk about another one of my favorite characters, which
Okay.
is Neon Genesis Evangelion. and
Yeah.
so I like her because one of my first early interviews, way back almost 12 years ago, was Tiffany Grant, who plays Asuka. And
Yes, I love
so
her.
I love Tiffany Grant. Tiffany Grant is like the most fascinating person. She was late to the interview because she was fixing the headlight on her car. And I thought it was pretty
That
funny.
sounds so normal.
But I love Neon Genesis Evangelion. I've had John Swayze on, who was, Shinji's dad. I've had Spike Spence on, who is Shinji. I love Neon Genesis Evangelion. It's one of the best things ever. It's classic anime, And what is that like? Because this is another one of those characters that people know, people love, and obviously you got her in a chair with like the nice big heels on and the pumps on. I think they're pumps, right?
Yeah, those were my friend's pumps.
And then you got her swimsuit, Asuka. So
Hmm.
Shinji, get in the robot.
Get in the water.
Yeah, exactly. So what
Yeah. I literally cosplayed her because my friend requested it because she's obsessed with Evangelion and she wanted me to cosplay Asuka with her. And so I did. She's not really my most requested cosplay. Um, and I don't get much traction with her. So she actually is no longer in my repertoire of cosplays that I still have. I think I still have her wig floating around somewhere. I think I at least kept that, but the rest of the cosplays are now gone because I originally had her suit with the spear as well, and I sold that off. But she definitely wasn't. I don't know. I didn't get enough traction with her, but I at least had fun with my friend that at that point it didn't really matter. We were just goofing off anyways. Like during that photo shoot with the pumps and everything, she let me borrow her pumps for said cosplay. Um because we were both matching with the pilot suits and everything. And we also had a Shinji that we were bullying. It was a really fun photo shoot.
so
um
let's actually talk about that because you brought something up that's interesting. Is that obviously in life there are points in anything you're doing that it's time to say, hey, look, we tried X, we had fun with X, but it's time to move on, even at a loss
yeah.
or whatever. And it's tricky, even with what I do, and I sell comics and cards on eBay. There is a point sometimes to say, look, I need to just move on from this asset, and even if I take a loss, it's time to move on. And so, what is that like when you move on from a cosplay? And that obviously you have to make a determination saying, look, this isn't getting the traction I need, or I don't love it anymore, or it's time to sell it off to make room for something else. Like, how does that work? Because that I would imagine that's not an easy decision to make, and that it's
For me it's not because I get so obsessed and engrossed in everything that I do, even if I may not personally like the anime or like the character. I get so obsessed with getting it right or getting it perfect or making this aspect of it nice and getting the photo shoot correct, and I get all these ideas for photo shoots. Again, even if I don't like the character I'm doing, I still want it to, be great, and I still want the quality to fit what I expect it to be. So I get attached in a way. So it's harder to let go because of that. But there have been certain characters that I know don't fit me very well that I've done that were a little bit easier to let go because of that. So I was just like, okay, just, and we sell you, go bye bye. But most of the time, it's normally I wanted it to be so perfected. I wanted it to be such good quality that even if it didn't sell, I became so obsessed with it for a time that I don't want to let it go. But I need to because you're taking up too much room and I have not enough space
no,
at all.
I find it fascinating. Again. I have a hard time letting things go, and it's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy to take a loss on something.
Yeah. It
And
really isn't because I have like 10 bins right now full of cosplays. Bins in my closet that I haven't let go of.
I feel you. I feel you on that. I have a lot of things that I need to let go of in my personal collections and my business collections and all sorts of stuff. So I completely understand, and I can imagine that space is a necessity.
It really is. Like a lot of my stuff is actually in storage right now because when we moved again, I just could not have all of that stuff in the apartment because it just took up too much space, and there's still too much. I'm still like there's too much here.
I can imagine. I can imagine. And then sticking with anime, obviously you did this one too, which is my dress up darling.
Yeah, she's one of my favorites. I'm gonna keep her around for a while because she's a comfortable cosplay. I like to keep the comfortable cosplays around.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't need to think I need to say anything about my dress up, darling. I think it speaks for itself. I mean, it's pretty self explanatory.
Yeah,
I don't know how to, but you bring up a really good point about comfortable cosplays because obviously they're in my opinion, and I haven't been to a con in almost 6 years. Um, the last con I went to was not a anime or comic con. It was definitely not that. It was fun though. It was an adult convention. It was fun. Um, but I think there's been a shift in people being strict to the letter and not being able to sit or move around versus now being in more comfortable fabrics, more comfortable shoes, other things. And I think that shift started to happen right before I started stock going to conventions. And I'm curious
yeah.
what you think of that because I think 10 years ago, the cosplay community was a lot stricter and a lot less tolerant. And I think they're a lot more tolerant now than they were 10, maybe even 15 years ago.
I know I noticed it like back when I first started cosplaying, we were more of a chill
Yours?
community. We weren't super on the nose with cosplays. It was whatever you had on hand, you do you, and as long as we can recognize the character, that's great. Um, and then it started shifting when social media became a bigger thing that everyone had to be perfect, and everyone started realizing that you could monetize cosplay is when everything started to be perfect and you had to be exactly like the character, exactly this way, and role play exactly like that. And then now it's starting to shift back to that carefree. No, you don't. You don't have to do any of that. We're all broke. We can't do that anymore. Sorry, bro. So I love seeing that it's shifting back to that original carefree. We're just doing what we want now type of vibe because I miss that vibe. Because Lord knows I cannot do the perfect cosplay vibe anymore. That was too much. And my feet can't handle being in heels for that long anymore. I actually have to get a wheelchair at cons now because I tend to pass out a lot quicker now and I can't handle it. So I'm I'm happy that we're starting to lean more towards being a more chill con community again. But I think with the rise of the social media and then the rise of TikTok cosplayers, there was that pinpoint in time where everything had to be perfect and you weren't anything unless you had the exact cosplay, you looked exactly like the character, or you were nothing. It it became too mainstream to where the popular kids who used to bully us for liking these things became part of the community. And I think that's where the problem started. I know that's kind of a controversial take, but I think that's actually where it really, really started.
Yeah, I have a different take. I have a way more controversial take than you maybe. I think the problem started when it didn't necessarily become mainstream, but it became profitable for a bunch of people. And then a bunch of people said, I want to do this too. And they came in perhaps 2 years later than they needed to be in there. And then the thing just naturally became chaotic. And then all of a sudden, people start cutting corners and doing other things and not necessarily putting in the work. And so I think that the cosplay community became problematic in that regard. So when you have people making like $3 million, and the word professional cosplayer is a very toxic word in my opinion, in
It
which that
is.
I think it created a separation and an unnecessary separation. Um,
Yes, it did.
because it basically says, "Hey, I'm getting paid for this to be in a booth or as a guest, and I'm cosplaying and you're cosplaying, but I'm better than you." And that's what
A
it is.
sense of superiority.
And yes, yes, and look, if you can get paid for something, God bless you. You should, if you can get paid for something, do it, right? That's not the problem. The problem is that the word and how it was phrased and the idea and the attitude, right? So, and the lack of humility is a good word to throw in there. And that's where I think went south. And then all of a sudden, people said, "Oh my God, this person is making a lot of money. I could do it too." They come into the sector, and then they're not making that money, and then they slowly do other things that then make the community into a mosh pit. And
You
that's
start
where I
seeing
think,
them dollar signs.
yeah. So I mean, that's what's happened, and I'm not saying they did anything illegal, but all of a sudden this is what happens, and then it becomes a mess, and then it has to be slowly cleaned up, and it could
Yep.
take a while, and it has to go through a
And
cycle.
then they realized that they couldn't actually make as much money as they thought because they actually had no idea what they were doing and they weren't as obsessed as they thought that they were.
Yeah, and they didn't love it. I love cards and sports card collecting and non-sports card collecting, and I know everything about it. So I love that, right? I know people come into this and they're gone in a year. I know
Yep.
podcasters who are gone in a year. I've been doing this for almost like 12 years now, in which that if I didn't love this in this environment, I would not be here still. And there's been plenty of rough patches, plenty. But I love interviewing and I love doing this and I love media collectively and I love, you know, but I don't love doing like a comic hangout. That bores me because there's nothing that can be done there. But I digress in that regard. And then I want to talk about maybe one or two more of your cosplays before we get to some fun stuff with what you got. And I'm still trying to figure out who this character is. It's been a long time since I figured out who this is. You know,
Have to redo her.
I love Raven. I
I was
love
supposed to
Raven.
redo her a few years ago for the comic book, but I have yet to accomplish it because that scythe keeps terrifying me to redo. Um, but she is Karis from the Zen Scope
I
comic
know who
book.
she is. I love Raven Gregory. I love Raven.
Yeah, I was supposed to booth babe for them a few times, but I have yet again to update that cosplay. It's just been on the back burner because of that scythe. I'm like, how am I going to make this portable and light enough and also look good at the same time? Eh.
So let's talk about her because obviously I love Ralph. I love Joe. Dave Franchini is wonderful. Raven is I never know what Raven I'm going to get, but I love Raven Gregory. Every time I speak to Raven, it's always a good chat and nothing ever gets accomplished, and that's perfect. I love Raven, in which he's absolutely fantastic. Um, and then obviously there's just been other people. Pat Chanzo is good, and I have a good relationship with Zenoscope, and they just did Grim Tales of Terror, the Blu-ray,
Yes.
which I'm excited for. I'm very excited for. They've been very good to me at that company. Um,
Yeah, I love them.
over the years. You know, I didn't want to go up to Philly with them though, which had raffled for me a free ticket, and I was just like, guys, I just got out of debt. I would prefer not to get back in with you guys, and they understood completely. That. It's just like it's a money pit sometimes.
It really
But
is.
what is that like though? Because Zenescope is one of those companies that is well respected. People like
Yes.
Zenescope. They have a big loyal fan base, and it's kind of a cool thing to be able to cosplay one of their characters, and they want you to be a booth babe for them at one of their shows, and that's because there is an element of pristine in that regard. With that, so what is that like for you?
I felt like it was a high honor. I just think that at that time, during that time period, because this was a few years back, I haven't spoken to them in a while. I do comment on their stuff every once in a while, but since it was a few years back, I just was not capable or ready back then. And also, my skills were just not on par as they are now. Um, I just felt like I was not ready for that responsibility, but I did feel like it was such a great honor that they even wanted me to do that. And I still want to do something like that with them. I want to update Karis. I also want to cosplay Van Helsing eventually, because I have their figure and she stares at me and I'm just like, I will eventually look like you. It will happen.
I bought all three of those figures for a really good deal. It was terrible. So it was buy all three for $150, and then inside was three comics that came with it, and then I sold all three.
Yes.
So I sold. It was at one of their virtual cons, right? So $150. I sold the 75 print run for like 225. I sold the 150. Maybe it was two comics. I don't know. I sold the 150 print run for like 125, and then I made money. And then I said to my mom after I did that, "You can't be angry at me because we have more shit now, but I made money on the deal." And that was the end of the conversation. But I haven't opened them out of the boxes because I have nowhere to put them, but I bought them anyway because I knew
No.
if I didn't buy them at that time that yeah, I might never get the ability to buy them. So when I do get like a display case, I'm planning to put that, and then I got a few other statues that are really nice. I bought a video game just for its statue. So I'm one of those guys. Didn't even open up the
That's
video
fair.
game. Didn't even care. I'm a big One Piece guy, so the One Piece Alabasta game came out, and I bought the statue version of it. So yeah. Um, but yes, that's how I roll. Um, that's exactly how I roll. But they're beautiful, and I sold the two books, and I made money, so I was thrilled. It's just terrible. It's just terrible. And I know it's bad. So but I said to my mom, she really can't be angry at me because I made money on the
If it
deal.
works, it works.
I knew when I started I was going to make money. And I'm like, I like those statues. And my objective, I want to make this perfectly clear for everybody who's listening, is that I just wanted to get the statues and I didn't want them to cost me any money. So I was thrilled.
Best way to do it.
I didn't really want the comics were cool. In a perfect world, I would have kept the comics, but I sold the comics and I got the statues. So no complaints. But I do like that one. And then obviously I know I'm missing a bunch of your cosplays. I'm missing a bunch of your stuff. But there is this one that I like. Falsetta.
Everyone loves that one.
I have my own
Oh,
version of Falsetta that is close to hers, which is this.
aw, that's cute.
I bought all 15 of those comics too. But anyway, that's
Yeah,
Burissa.
I have a boozette that I did. She's white haired. I think I posted it on Instagram because I
So,
had Bowsette and then I had boozette.
so yes. So I love Balsetta. She's great. She's great. It's the cosplay that should have never happened. Is
But I
her whole
love it.
cosplay. But I digress. But I do want to talk about the OnlyFans stuff and the Patreon stuff as well,
Hmm.
because again, I am not on OnlyFans. I would blow all of you out of the water. I just want to make that crystal clear. I am very good at what I do. No. I would fail miserably, everybody. I would fail miserably. It would be a bad idea. Um, I OnlyFans is not for me. Um, because I don't have only in my name. You know, I have many fans, and I feel I'd be discriminating against the only one. So, you know, I'm an equal offender. I will be doing stand up on Friday, everybody, in case anybody wants to show up. Um, I'm so sorry, but I can't help it. I'm sorry. Um, but what is that like? Because obviously, OnlyFans is just a distribution platform, and so is
Yep.
Patreon. So is Loyal Fans. Fansly is another one.
Hmm.
ManyVids is also a distribution site that does a bunch of.
Hmm.
We could call it adult cosplay.
Yep.
I like that term. I like that term, right? Um,
Yep.
I might coin it if it's not already coined. I'm coining it. Adult cosplay. So what is that like? Because there's a niche for that. People like that. What?
What?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Were you saying something?
No, I wasn't. I was clearing my throat.
I don't know. You said at any point you can tell me to shut up. I mean,
No,
but
you're
like
good.
most people do tell me to shut up when I speak because I speak way too much. But anyway, what is that like? Because obviously that's what those platforms are there for to some degree. Is that it's more of an adult environment. It's a mature environment, and I think cosplay is interesting in that regard because, as I stated, I went to Exotica in Jersey, last year, and it was a cool place, and it was not what I was expecting, where it was actually better that everybody had to be like, I think 18 or 21. I think everybody had to be 21 or older to go in. And so it was actually a more mature, tamer con than I was expecting. And so what is this like? Because I think it's fascinating.
It's definitely a different side. I actually have been on basically all the platforms that you have mentioned. I have been on Patreon. I am on OnlyFans. I'm on Fansly. I'm on ManyVids. I'm actually a cosplay deviant as well officially, and we do have DLC on our site now. So that is now a platform that you can post on as well. So there's just so many out there now. And being an adult content creator is just a different aspect of cosplay because it kind of puts more play into the cosplay part of it. Because you can do so many variations. You can do more role playing type things. And you can do more risque-ish things that people like to say that they don't view, but they actually do like to view, especially if you see many people's Twitter feeds, they definitely like to view it. You know who I'm talking to. Um, and
Let me
it's
ask this. Let me ask this because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this goes back to the earlier thing we were talking about a few minutes ago. Is that I also think that cosplay and pop culture has become vast, right? And so at
yes,
this point, to make a full living off of cosplay is very similar to making a full living off of voice acting. It is
yes,
incredibly hard. That's why a lot of people who voice act, they will do other things like training videos. And then also what they will do is that if you're lucky, you don't have to do that and you get booked at a bunch of cons and you get a bunch of roles, then you have 30 hours of voice roles and then you are, you know, doing 25 cons a year, you're doing all right. And I think that going to the adult side per se might be a way how to subsidize income, and it also opens up new avenues. It also opens up other things. Obviously, I've spoken to people in the adult world on my show, and there's a reason why they do cam work. And then on top of that, they have an OnlyFans because one thing feeds the other, and the other thing feeds the other thing, and it goes.
Yep.
It's a revolving door. And so
It is a
it
revolving door, but it also can close doors too. There's also downsides to it. So
that is true.
you have,
That is true.
yeah. Just like, for example, you have the revolving door of it can feed into other things. You gain a lot of traction through these different avenues, but you are less likely to be a cosplay guest at a con because of it. You are less likely to get sponsorships because of it. You are less likely to get monetized on Instagram, on Twitter, on any of those platforms that allow monetization. You're less likely because of it. So you have to make sure that that is an avenue that you really actually want to go down before you do it, because there are going to be doors that will be shut in your face. But also, more opportunities can arise as well out of it, which is most of the time you can rehash a lot of your videos, resell them on different platforms, and reach brand new audiences. You can also create customs for people and reach a whole brand new side of different kinks that you never even knew existed. And you were like, oh, well, oh, okay, well, yeah, I can do that. Sure. Well, go.
Do, do,
That's
do,
great.
you, do you also feel, and this is just my, because I'll tell you how I feel about life, right? So 10 years ago, all I wanted was to be a guest at a convention and have my name in the brochure as a panelist. Didn't even want to be paid. I just wanted it on my resume, right? Now, I just want to be paid. That's it. So I want to be paid, and I want to be paid a lot of money, and what I'm worth.
Same.
And I know exactly what I'm worth on an hourly level. In certain areas, I am golden, right? So I don't give a flying fuck about glory, right? I don't care. I'm glad you won an award in comics, everybody, or you won a cosplay award. How much did you make? Like because great, you could tell me I'm the greatest in the world, but that doesn't pay my mortgage, doesn't pay my bills, doesn't allow me to have cash, doesn't allow me to go to Starbucks with my significant other and get her a frap and get me like
Nah,
my
just show them your certificate. That pays for everything.
so I want to be paid now, and so at a certain point I don't really know if people are fully committed to the idea of saying, well, if I go adult and I'm making bank, isn't that worth more than me being a guest at a convention? And, I may or may not make the same amount of money. And that if I create a piece of content for many vids and that content gets sold a lot, and then somebody paid me $250 to make a video for 10 minutes, and then I sell 1,000 of those videos at $10 a video, you just made like $1,500 that took you an hour. I mean,
Yeah.
it,
There's
it, it,
pros and cons to it though, because it's not just being paid for these videos and everything. It's also the fact that you have legislation that's also trying to work against you constantly. You have these algorithms that are trying to work against you constantly. You have all of these platforms trying to work against you constantly. So you also have to be aware of social issues as well all the time to make sure that your livelihood is not about to be affected,
I
because
agree.
it is constantly on the line.
Oh, I agree. I agree. In which I completely understand that. And again, it's a mess.
It
And
is.
I'm not here to profess. It is messy, and I get it. Um, but again, I mean, it could also be that I'm just an interviewer, right? So I don't face the same subjectivity when I interview an adult star, right? As somebody who's in the adult industry, and I can roam wherever I want to roam, and I do, and I just pay no attention to it, and I don't really care. And if somebody doesn't like that, well, that's their problem, and they're probably, if they have a problem with it and they want to sponsor my show and they don't like who I'm interviewing, then they're probably not a good fit. Because I don't compromise my principles for anybody anymore. So
That's fair.
if somebody has an issue with me interviewing Savannah Fox and they want to sponsor the show, say, Andrew, I don't want you to do that. I guess we're not doing business together. I'll do it my way, and you could do it your way, and there we go. And if the United States government wants to try to come after me, well, we will deal with that too. It's just the way we do things. I have no problem doing that because I'm a free speech absolutist. So I'm willing to die for that. But I completely understand there are consequences for actions. But again, I find this fascinating. I find
It is.
this fascinating. Sorry.
You're good.
Well, I don't know if you're going to say something.
I think I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
you're you're good. It happens to me quite often.
So even to go further into this though, because I am curious as about this as well, is that obviously, and we also touched upon this too, is that cosplay and pop culture has significantly changed in the last,
Yes.
I think, 5 years, let alone, yeah, 5 years, give or take, the post COVID era, as I like to call it. It has, pop culture was something before COVID, it was something during COVID, and then it's now become something new outside of COVID. And so, what how do you feel cosplay has changed in that time period? Because I think a bunch of stuff has changed, but again, I'm also looking into it, and you're looking out of it while also being part of it.
Hmm. I never know how to answer that question because I literally don't try and get into it too much. I try to stay in my own little bubble, as it were, because I try not to get into too much. You know what I'm saying? I've had enough, like, people interaction drama in my lifetime that I'm like, I just want to just go about my life. Try not to think about it too hard. Just keep trucking, like what I like, do what I do. All right, we're good. So I try not to think about it too hard, try not to get into the drama of it all. So the shifts and everything, one, trying to keep up with it, two, trying to stay authentic to myself, then three, the flippity floppity back and forth. I don't know. Again, I don't really get too much into it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And then obviously, where do you see cosplay going? Because I mean that's the other side of the question, is that, where do you see it going? I mean, do you see it having more of a presence on the internet? Do you see more of the closet cosplay coming out, or do you see that, it's just going to be a, more liberated or less liberated space, for lack of a better word?
um I see things are going to start dying down because things are going to start getting more expensive, so people are going to start getting more creative to express themselves, but they're also going to have less time to do it. So it's going to become more niche again because of that.
Do you think that that's going to be a good thing? Because do you think it's going to get rid of, I guess, the people who are not fully committed? Because I mean, my experience in life is that every once in a while, it's good when something wipes out and gets rid of the people who are not fully committed to whatever they're doing. Right? I'm not saying that we should put up a gate, but it's sometimes good to it's kind of like everyone. I mean, actually, this is a really bad example, but I'm going to say it anyways. That sometimes a forest needs to have a fire, right?
Yeah.
I know everybody. It's a bad analogy right now. I get it. I get it. But it clears out the brush and the leaves, and it allows for new things to grow. And that's sometimes
Yeah,
like
I started seeing that shift on TikTok actually when they stopped advertising cosplayers on the app and started advertising more TikTok dancers and more normal people. So what originally got people into the app, which was cosplayers, and more people started cosplaying because of that, and we got the TikTok cosplayers started becoming irrelevant. So all the people who were originally the TikTok cosplayers started not cosplaying. It started doing that shift again to where now it's more normal people, normal content again. So you're getting that shift again where now it's actually the people who have always had that love or the newer generation who have always had that geekdom or had parents in the geekdom. So I think it is shifting back to that in some form or fashion. Um, but you did see a surge there for like a little bit, especially during COVID, that we had a lot of those people that didn't really have a passion for it. They were just trying to get clout. So it does eventually weed itself out, and it's going to get a lot worse now. But it is also unfortunate when things do start getting more expensive because the younger generation won't have the opportunity, though, to explore.
there. Hello.
Can you hear
You there?
me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You get out for like 1 second, right at the end.
Okay.
I was just making sure that nothing happened, but no. No, I find it interesting again, in which that it's just um yeah, again, I mean, I don't know where it's going. I don't know where it's going. I don't know where anything is going. Um, and I think it's just going to be interesting to see what happens because I also think that the economy is going to play a major role in all this. Um,
Yes, and unfortunately, it's going to put a lot of the newer generation out of exploring those avenues.
I think that's potentially one outcome. I also think that right now there's just so many things that people can do, and that again. I mean, I don't miss going to conventions. I don't. It's like it's a weird thing for me where I thought I would have missed it, but I don't. I don't miss cons at all.
I mean,
And
that's fair because, in all honesty, I don't either. People always ask me if I'm going to go to more cons and stuff. It's like, unless they pay me,
I don't
I
even
don't really, because it's too expensive, one, for me to go. And two, my body, unless I'm at a table, my body cannot handle it.
again. I go to this con for a day, right? It was in Jersey. I didn't even drive. My friend has a Tesla and he drove. It was great. Cool. But it was like a 2 hour trip. I was exhausted, and we were there for 6 hours, and it wasn't even a big con, and my body was like fucking beat up. And you know what it is? You can burn through so much money at a convention and so quickly. Like $200 doesn't go that far anymore. And so
Nope.
I'm at a stage where it's like I don't even know if you could pay me to go. I don't know if you could pay me to go because I'll be really honest. I don't want to be there. I just don't. There's a million things I can do with my life that are way better than that. So
Yeah, most of the time at cons, I don't really do anything except for people take pictures, and then I go to the dealer's room, maybe the gaming room, and that's about it because I was never interested in panels. I'm barely interested in meeting voice actors and actors unless there's someone I really, really want to meet, but I'm not that interested in it because I'm not that starstruck, and it's just not something I really care to do. And I also just don't like standing in lines. So it's just gotten to the point where I'm like, I don't like going to them either. I only go to this one con, and that's because my roommate's friend is one of the con chairheads. So
what
we
it is
basically get in for free.
what it is for me is that all this stuff has become massively expensive. So
Yes, most things that you buy are like $50 or up. Like you
it's
can't
not
even
even
find
that.
things that are like $10 or $20
Well,
anymore, or even
it's
5.
it's gotten to the point where there was I live in Connecticut and then I work in New Rochelle, which is near Westchester, which is near White Plains. And what is it? There's this con, and all these top voice actors are there, but they're all charging like $50, and you
Even
either
for a
get
selfie.
for like a selfie. And I'm like, you guys aren't worth a fucking $50 selfie. I'm sorry. Like, it's, and I'm looking at this, and then like they're charging different prices for a Pop Funko, for signed cards. Like, and like you bring your card, and I'm like, there's no way there's three things, right?
Mhm.
$50 for, a One Piece character signature who's not in the main cast is a little pricey, you know. And then on top of that, like, great, you autographed it, but like, if I want to really maintain value, I got to get that thing graded. So I'm gonna have to pump in like $100 with your signature on it to protect it, to even have a shot at making any money with it at some point. So that's one issue. And then secondly, it's like $50 for a signature. That's a lot. And then it's like 35 for a selfie. Like, you got to be fucking shitting me a brick. Like, meanwhile, I'm still paying for a ticket. I'm still gonna have to park. Like, what are we fucking doing here? Like, I think it's crazy. And,
Yep.
and
Uh,
I remember before COVID, it's like, cool, I'll sign two things for free, right? And then you can pay for signatures off of that. But like, I'm just looking at this shit. I'm like, this has gotten out of fucking hand.
yep.
Like, you need like I used to go in DC to Awesome Con, and I would bring $1,000, but I'd be getting graded books and signatures on that. But like, somebody's charging $15 for the signature for a book that's getting graded. That was reasonable. Like, and
Yep.
now like all this shit's just fucking crazy. And so like that, I think it's gotten out of hand. Um, and it's not even the top of the top that are doing that. And then it's just like, it's whatever. So that's my whole point, is that I just think it's gotten bonkers expensive, and you need
It
a
has.
grand to go to a con and have a good time. At an anime con, you need about 300. For a comic con, you need about 1,000 of free dispense of cash. And it's not that I don't have $1,000. It's just that I think that I'd rather put my $1,000 elsewhere.
I rather go to Disney on that money, in all honesty.
Disney sounds good too.
That's what I always tell people. If I can spend my money at Disney, like if something costs Disney money, I'm going to Disney instead. Sorry, bro. That's literally where my calculations are. Can I spend it at Disney? Okay. Is it cheaper than Disney? Okay. Girl math.
So many things I could say there. So many things I could say there. But again, it's just, things are just so fucking expensive, and that I just don't, I can't justifiably calculate the math on it, and I'm just like, this is really, 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 really too expensive for me, and
Yeah.
there you go, and it sucks because
And that's why I'm only going to one con this upcoming year. And that is, again, because I'm getting in for free. If it wasn't for that, I would not be going to any cons at all.
it's why I present at conventions, because you get a free ticket. And when it's a $90 ticket, it goes a long way. $90 goes a long way because you usually put one or two extra people on your ticket. So I used to put my parents when I was younger because they would come to visit me, and then that was cool. And then all of a sudden, you sometimes put your friends on your tickets because you can get up to like 3 free tickets. So all of a sudden, it helps. But like again, it's so expensive. But I digress. I mean, I don't want to complain and bitch about this, but like after a while, I'm just like I'm tapped out of money. So
Yeah.
there you go.
I mean, I might end up going to other cons if the Deviants have me as their event team. But the only con that I personally am planning is just MomoCon, and that is it. So it could change later on in the year after my surgery healing is done. But right now, that's the only thing that I personally have planned. So everything else is up to Deviants, whether I'm going to another con or not.
Well, I don't have anything planned. I'm not doing any cons, and there you go. So
Yeah.
that again, I would much rather just sit in my house on my weekends and watch anime, play video games, watch sports, or legitly hang out with my friends and drink because it sounds a lot better than going to a con. I'm
Oh,
30.
definitely.
I'm 32, and again, having a
I
physical
just prefer doing
disability.
photo shoots, in all honesty. That's my fun. I prefer doing photo shoots. I prefer going to get boba in cosplay. I prefer making my cosplays at home. I I just have more fun doing that stuff than I do going to a convention at this point. So,
Fair enough, fair enough. And then obviously, we've been speaking for a while, and I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. You spoke about a lot of stuff, showed a lot of pictures, but where can people find you, bother you, follow you, OnlyFans you, many vids, loyal fans, all the fun stuff, Fansly, all that good stuff, social media.
mm. Okay, so all of my stuff is basically under all the same name, which is XX Kiki Rose XX. I try to make everything as easy as possible for everyone to find me. So I try to use the same username for everything, but that's goes for all social media. I'm on OnlyFans, I'm on Fansly, I'm on ManyVids, I am on Cosplay Deviants. That one's under Kiki Rose. And yeah, that's basically where you can find me is basically everywhere under the same username, which is XX Kiki Rose XX. And all of my other links are all on Instagram or Twitter, basically everywhere. And TikTok, I'm also on TikTok. When am I not on TikTok at this point? I used to have 150K on TikTok, and then I got banned for wearing a bunny suit one time. They apparently don't like big boobed people. So then they banned that TikTok. And I've been making a new one ever since, trying to build that one back up. I'm so mad about it. Still salty.
Oh, so many things I could say about that too. So many things I could say about that, but I was just gonna hold my tongue. Um, but but obviously, I'm gonna encourage people to go follow you on social media, check out what you're doing. If they like what they see, obviously they know what to do from there. And then as far as I'm concerned about me, because it is my show, you can come and bother me on Twitter/X at Pop Anime Comics. Instagram is Pop Anime Comics. Facebook is Pop Anime Comics. TikTok is Pop Anime Comics. YouTube is Pop Anime Comics. I do run a little eBay business called Pop Anime Comics Collectibles. Come shop with us on, Pop Anime Comics Collectibles. We sell comics and pop culture items and cards and all sorts of cool stuff. And I sell stuff like this in my store. I sell stuff like this as far as comics. I sell comics like this in my store. I also sell stuff like this in my store, which are super cool, which are one-on-ones, things like this. Obviously, things like this, a lot of WNBA cards. And so I do sell a lot of that stuff in there. And then I sell stuff like this in my store. And for those who are interested, I do sell stuff like this as well, which is a number 8 out of 25 Aaron Judge 300th home run that I cracked open about an hour and a half ago. So I do have one of those up in my store. Still sealed, by the way. So you don't know what's in there. So you can definitely check that out and buy cool stuff like that. And if you're looking for comics or cards or other collectibles, whether it's sports or non-sports, and I don't have it in my store, please ask because I may have it. I just haven't listed it up, and I'm always moving merchandise around. Or if I don't have it, there's a good chance I know somebody who does have it, and I'm more than happy to hook you up with them so you can get what you're looking for. So that's everything that I got going on. And again, it's Pop Anime Comics Collectibles, or just type in Pop Anime Comics, and you'll be directed to something that is mine that will redirect you to something that else is mine. And you will eventually find what you are looking for within about 10 minutes or so, if not sooner. So that's everything that I got going on. And on that note, I'm going to give you the final word.
Um, I don't know really what to say. Final word. I guess I hope to see you guys on my socials, and I hope to talk to you all because this has been fun. And I hope to do more podcasts and more interviews because I would love to just talk more, I guess.
Well, I don't think that could have been said any better than you just said it, and I believe that is a wrap, everybody.